Let's sync the audio here. Cool. Ooh, I'm gonna have so much fun with this. The perks of having cats. Long-haired cats. I don't know if this is a perk necessarily. Their hair follows you around even when you're traveling. And this becomes your best friend. All right. Well, welcome back. Thank you so much to tuning in. Wow. I'm so excited for season 2. Welcome to season 2. This is going to be a very different season for sure. I'm so excited. I'm going to have a lot of my friends coming on here. I've mentioned this in the first season. I want this podcast to become like an oasis, a safe place for people to open up and be their vulnerable, authentic self, whatever that may mean, because I understand that we as humans can experience the extremes, you know, when it comes to life, when it comes to emotions. And I also understand that the way we connect is by relating to each other. The way we connect is, you know, through what we like, what we dislike, what we've been through. So by me sharing my story, which was all that season 1 was, if you're interested in my background, then I highly suggest taking it back to season 1. Yeah, and by means of sharing your story, I firmly believe we could uplift each other. We could help each other progress in this life, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to evolve. We're here to grow. We're here to learn from each other, most importantly. And I feel like now more than ever, it's so important to highlight that, to highlight the fact that we could learn from anybody. We really can. We could learn from anybody. It's a matter of putting your ego aside and just taking a step back, removing that lens of judgment, taking what resonates and leaving what doesn't, you know? It doesn't have to be so rigid, so structured. And I really feel like Earth and society as a whole is moving into this like new way of being. It's kind of crazy. I see things evolving. I see the difference of the way that people are interacting with me when I'm out and about. And even on social media, and especially with what's going on now, you know, I've also realize that when it comes to society, there's always something happening in the background. There's always something going on. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm talking about something going on, I mean, whether that be war or some kind of major, huge disagreement in the world, you know, that's what the news does. That's what the news programs. It kind of programs this uneasiness, you know, that kind of plays in the background for everyone to connect to, because it's really easy, really, really, really easy to connect to fear, really easy to step into that victim mentality, you know. What's harder is to find yourself out of that spiral and, you know, feel better about yourself or feel good about where you are in your life. We could be so hard and judgmental on ourselves, and I feel like that also comes from conditioning, whether that be our parents or just growing up around the society that we have, especially being in America. By the way, side note, I am in Salt Lake City, Utah right now. Woo! Super excited to be here. More things to come. I'm not gonna say what. Anyway. So yeah, society. What was I saying? So the conditioning. Okay, specifically living in America. So I've traveled to Europe, right? I was born in Poland, and I've been there many times. I've been traveling since I was like 16. I'm pretty sure, like by myself, but to Poland or to other states. However, it was always like family I was visiting out there. It was always like a home, a place I was going to. I was meeting, right? So my first time traveling Okay, let's talk about my travels. Let's talk about my travels, and then we'll tie it back to society and what I see here in America versus what I see in Europe, for example. At least in my opinion, people will always have their own perspectives, and that's totally fine. Like I said, you take what resonates and you leave what doesn't. That's kind of like the point of life, to see, to observe, to experience as much as you can, and understand, realize, and integrate what you like and what you don't like. That's how we create our reality. Anyway. So, yeah, I've been traveling like on plane since I was like, I'm pretty sure 16. I always had the travel bug, and when I would travel, it was to visit family. So I traveled to Poland to visit family. I traveled to Colorado to visit family in Colorado. But it wasn't until legit last year. I am 26, so it wasn't until I was 24. My birthday's in March. What's up, Pisces? How's it going? My water signs. We like to swim in schools. Anyway, so last year, I had the brilliant idea of traveling to Copenhagen, and I was actually inspired by a friend who he studied there. If you're listening, dude, you're a cool guy. I'm very blessed to have met you. You have inspired me in many ways. Anyway, all the best to you. All the best to you. Anyway, so I booked a ticket to Copenhagen, Denmark. Now, this was a huge step for me because this would be my first time traveling completely solo. I wasn't meeting anybody there necessarily, okay? I was traveling into a country that speaks a different language that I've never been to. Like Poland, I've been many times, and again, I have family out there. So this trip was different. It was completely on my own terms. And I was nervous. I was scared, but I was really excited. It felt really good to do this. Just 1 second. I should probably text my friend. Intermission. I'm very interested to see how this is going to play out. It's my first time doing film and audio. I'm winging it. We'll see. Wow. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens. Anyway, so yeah, I booked this trip, and there was like a delay in the flight because there was a huge storm. I had a connecting flight in Iceland. Reykjavik. I don't know how to say that. But there was a huge storm in Iceland where the winds were like, 40, 50 miles an hour. I'm pretty sure that's how bad it was. From what I heard, that plane that did land, I believe that was supposed to be my plane. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, the people were on this plane for, I don't know if it was a couple hours because of how strong these winds were. They weren't able to board the people off the plane. They were at the airport, like right there at the gate, but I guess that's how bad the winds were. It's Iceland, okay? That's crazy. Another place that I'm most definitely going to be traveling to. Because wow, I feel like I'm on Mars when I land there. Ooh, so cool. The volcanoes, ooh. Anyway, so my flight gets delayed, and instead of flying to Iceland, my connecting flight was in Brussels, Belgium. And I hop on this flight. I got a window seat. What's up? That's what's up. I didn't choose it. I always, let the system kind of do its thing. I don't really care for where I sit. Obviously, the window seat is fantastic, but I'm okay with whatever. And I get a window seat. And there's a gentleman that sits next to me. And, as you're on the flight, you get bored. I personally like talking to people and getting to know people, depending on my mood, depending on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I like to hermit. But anyway, so me and this gentleman that was sitting next to me, we start talking. And it turns out that he actually lives in Denmark. He's got family in Chicago that he was just visiting. And he's actually traveling with his, I believe, 17-year-old daughter who's finishing up high school. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So we started talking, you know what I'm saying? And at the time, I was genuinely debating studying in Copenhagen, Denmark, because why not? Nothing's holding me back here in Chicago. And I actually want to live in Europe long term, or at least live there for some time. Anyway, and so he was telling me about, we were talking about universities, and I was talking about the what I would want to go into. And there was a program that, anyway, I won't get into the details, but I was looking at different programs, and I did have like a couple, I was emailing people back and forth from the university to see what can be done, and what programs are available for me. Anyway, so we're talking, and yeah, I believe he's been living in Copenhagen. He's been living in Copenhagen for 25 years. He met his wife, who's from Iceland. I mean, come on. And yeah, he was telling me how they met. They met at an airport. Can you believe it? I think I'll have him on here. I would love to have him on here. Wow. That would be amazing. That would be so fun. I would love for you guys to meet him. He's such a fun guy. Anyway, so we're just talking about life. Conversation gets very deep. We talk about our parents. We work through some things for sure. For sure. We do. It was a very intellectual and eye-opening conversation. Now, this flight was like 9 hours. Like, we're flying to Belgium, you know, and we were basically talking the whole time. We touched about topics such as string theory, the quantum physics. He talked about, I forget what theory he was speaking about. Well, anyway, great conversation. We were talking about life. He actually wants to write a book because I believe it was one of his family members that published a book, and that was like, I believe that was one of the reasons why he was coming out to Chicago, or why he was in Chicago, because they were celebrating this book launching, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and and I told him how that's like one of my goals too, to write a book as well. And I told him about the plot. I told him about the story. He really liked it. He spoke about what he'd want his book to be about. And we both agreed that we'd send each other copies when we're finished, when it's published, you know. And I told him, you know, because writing a book, I feel like, is a journey. Like, it's a commitment. You can't just stop. Like, you have to keep going, because then you forget the storyline, and then what, you're going to reread all 32 pages that you just wrote, you know? And it's a journey. I feel like through the process of writing a book, like, you will evolve yourself as a person. And it's almost like, what is that book going to teach you? What is this process going to teach you? And I think that was a very interesting perspective about writing any book, you know? Yeah, so anyway, we land in Brussels, and yeah, we kind of hang out. He felt like an uncle. It was so cool. And his daughter was there. She was really cool. She like wants to go into politics. I don't know, but very, very sharp tool. Very, very intelligent woman. And we're going through customs. Yeah, and we're literally just sticking around. We end up and then from Brussels, Belgium, we were flying to Copenhagen. So he was letting me know, like, okay, you're going to take this train. There's actually a train straight from the airport. It'll take you to the center, to like the downtown area of Copenhagen, which is, I was staying at a hostel. He gave me lots of tips. It was great. It was a good time. Super grateful. And then he actually invited me for dinner to meet his wife. Are you kidding me? You're kidding me, right? Oh, I was elated. I'm like, oh my, it would be an honor. Absolutely, of course, I'll be there. And so, yeah, I made a friend. I made a friend in Copenhagen. He genuinely feels like an uncle. It's so cool. So freaking cool. Yeah, we have each other's contact, and he's like, you got to come out here in the summertime, because it was January when I flew out there last year, so it was quite cold. The weather was actually nicer than it was in Chicago. Haha, go figure. Chicago with the extreme seasons. We have 4 seasons, but they like to dip. They like to dip, you know what I'm saying? But makes me appreciate the nicer days. Anyway, yeah, so I get to my hostel and I start exploring around Copenhagen. I was like finding like really nice cafes just to work on my laptop. It's just so fun. I love it. And I love trying like just a simple plain latte, or what kind of teas you got. I want to know. I'm a little tea connoisseur. Speaking of tea, a little tea sip, tea break. Tea break. Can we talk about how cute this Airbnb has? Such a cute little teapot. Such a cute little teapot. Okay. Yeah, well, anyway, so I get to Copenhagen. Yeah, and I take the train. And it was a wonderful experience being in this country. Thank goodness. I didn't know a lick of Danish, but everyone speaks English as well. So I was just able to figure everything out. I use the train system a lot to just explore different areas. Christiana, which is quite an interesting concept of a place. Look into it. If it's like separate from from Denmark. Like literally, it's like its own thing. And they have like when you enter it, you're like, there's this like wooden I don't know what you'd call this, and it says you are now exiting the EU. And then when you're why did I say that way? You are now exiting the EU, like the European Union. And then when you're exiting, the same thing says you are now entering the EU. Yeah, so it's so interesting. You should look into its history if you're interested. They like became, was sovereign the right word? Or yeah, they're just separate from the EU. It's like a bunch of hippies that were like, we are not following the government. We are now our own thing. And they're like, okay. Well, no, I shouldn't say a bunch of hippies, but I mean, essentially, that's kind of what it was. Just like people that didn't want to follow the government. Yeah, well, anyway, I don't want to come off as ignorant. I mean, we could look into this, I guess. Freetown, Christiana. It's a neighborhood in Denmark, is what Wikipedia is telling me. It began in 1971. So it's an intentional community and commune. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It began as a squatted military base. Yeah, that's what it was. It's considered the 4th largest tourist attraction in Copenhagen, with 500,000 visitors annually. Yeah, and I was one of them. It was really cool. It was so interesting, so different to experience. It honestly kind of reminded me, anyone that's familiar with Chicago, it reminded me of what like Logan Square used to be. And when I say used to be, I mean, it was kind of like a little bit more run down and a little bit more crazy. But Logan Square, Wicker Park, if they had like a child, that's kind of what Christiana would be. Yeah, I'm sure a lot has changed over the years, and it's probably different than what it was a year ago when I was over there. There was a part of me when I walked in, there was a lot of tourists walking in there, right? I took the train out there, and when I walked in, there was a lot of people, a lot of tourists coming in and out. It was quite busy, but there was like a feeling that there was a part of me that I'm like, whoa, this is kind of sketch. Like, it's like dirt roads. Some of the houses are abandoned. Like, it's a little bit run down, right? And I'm like, whoa, I feel like there's a part of me that should be afraid. Like I shouldn't be here, right? But then I acknowledge that thought, and I'm like, wait. Like, I'm surrounded by tourists. You know, like, there's a lot of people. Like, I know I'm safe if something were to happen to me. 1, 2, this is just a judgment. Like, we all have the ability to discern if you're in like a situation that's not safe for you, right? And I am an intelligent human being that would be able to discern that and like make the proper advances in order to get myself from said unsafe situation. And so I like wrote an Instagram post about this. What it was that Christiana made me realize. These were my thoughts. Yeah. Okay. So there was a rawness that hit you in the face upon entering. The type of rawness that's usually kept behind closed doors, kept to yourself. Here it was all exposed. So it literally felt like you were entering like an acid trip and everything was just being laid out. That's what Freetown Christiana felt like. Yeah, and there was that judgment, right? There was that thought like, "Oh, am I safe here?" Like, these people are kind of wacky. They're a little weird. They're a little strange. They're not like your typical citizen. And then there's tourists, right? And I really hope I'm not offending anyone here. That's definitely not my intention. I'm just kind of letting you guys know what I was observing through entering this place. But once I moved past the judgment and discomfort, I was met with a sense of peace. The more time I spent here, a type of welcoming. I ended up having lunch over there at one of the restaurants. And that's what made me realize, like, everyone was so kind, like, super chill. Yeah, like Logan Square Wicker Park vibes. Like, it's a good time. You know what I'm saying? It is a good time. This is a conclusion I came up with. Deep within, we are searching for answers, for truth, for love. And here I felt that drive more than ever. I understood that no matter how your journey looks like, we're all on the same one, searching for the same things at core, searching for connection. Christiana humbled my spirit. Yeah, it did. I really felt that there. I don't know. I think that's a very beautiful revelation that I wanted to share. So I hope that resonates with somebody. Yeah, and I don't know, there was like a unity that I felt there, because that was the purpose of this establishment, like a commune. Like, they take all type of currency, for example. Okay, there's some stuff about cannabis going on here. Because it's illegal out there, but it's legal in Christiana, so maybe that's why it's so popular. I mean, anyway, that was my 2 cents of that experience. Okay, so going back, so yeah, that was one of the places I visited when I was in Copenhagen. Gosh, and I still kind of have this like idea of moving out there, because wow, that city spoke to me. And even just by the sheer synchronistic events of meeting this gentleman that was traveling with his daughter, who invited me to dinner, which, by the way, I did go. And I met his wife. His brother was actually in town, so I met his brother too. And there was a family friend at the dinner as well. And I was a little nervous and shy, because I'm like, this is crazy, you know, but it was a good time. It was a really good time, and I would love to see them again. I felt honored to have been welcomed into their home. His wife cooked, and she made a great meal for us. Yeah, it was a really good time. It was so cool. I really felt welcomed, and it was such a warm experience, if that makes any sense. It was just so cool. Like, we still keep in touch. You know, he wants me to come back out here. And I expressed how I do want to move to Copenhagen. There's like, oh yeah. So let's tie this back into my experience with what I feel in Europe versus what I feel in America. And, oh, wow. That was incredible. That dinner was incredible. He genuinely feels like an uncle. That's like the best part. I feel like that's the best part. I'm super excited to see him again when I travel out there. Yeah, so that was my experience traveling to Copenhagen. And this was a very significant trip for me, because it was the first time I was traveling solo to a country I've never been to that speaks a different language. Yes, they speak English too, so that worked out in my favor. And yeah, it was huge. The fact that I felt like the universe was like opening her arms to me and saying like, yes, like keep going, keep doing this, keep doing this. Like, I met this person on the plane who invited me to their home to meet the rest of their family. That's huge. I'm so grateful for that. So grateful. And oh my gosh. So I was staying at the hostel, right? And one night, I'm on the elevator. So the hostel was so cool. There was lots of stuff to do on the main floor, lots of like sitting area and just lounging areas. And so I was lounging one evening, and then I just decided to go back upstairs. I was at the elevator, and the elevator was so small. Oh my gosh, like max 3 people. I'm being serious. 3 people is like low-key uncomfortable. Your shoulders are basically touching. That's how small this elevator was. And so I hop on, and this it stops at a level, and another gentleman comes on, right? A gentleman comes on, not another, because it was just me in there. So he comes on, and then it stops at the next floor because we're ascending here. The doors open, and there's like these 3 teenagers, or maybe it was 4 of them. They're like talking or whatever, and they just start like marching into the elevator, and I'm like, whoa, boys, I don't think we can do this. And we all start laughing because the elevator is just genuinely that freaking small that there's no way all of us would have fit in there. Like actually, that's how small it was. And so we're all laughing, and they're like, yeah, for sure. They step back, the door closes, and me and this gentleman that I was with in there start laughing. And he's like, oh, did you know them? I'm like, I had no idea who they were. And he's like, oh my God, I thought they were your friends. I'm like, no, not at all. And he's like, so what are you doing out here? I'm like, oh, I'm visiting from Chicago. He's like, wow, no way. So we start talking. And I'm like, so Copenhagen, there's a train that takes you from Copenhagen to Malmö, Sweden. And it's like literally a 30-minute train ride to Sweden. And that was one of the goals I wanted to do. But I had this thought where I'm like, I wouldn't want to do this alone. I don't know. It just seems a little out there. Right? I was still like testing the waters, so to speak. He's like, oh, I'm going to Sweden tomorrow. I'm taking a train to Sweden. I'm like, no way. I wanted to go to Sweden. He's like, do you want to come with? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. He's like, okay, let's meet at like, I think it was 8 or 7:30 in the morning. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And so boom, I'm going to Sweden. I'm going to Malmö, Sweden with a new friend that I just met. And he's actually from Morocco, Casablanca. This is so cool, right? I wake up in the morning, we meet up, we take the train, we get to know each other. Oh my God, we had so much fun. So many good laughs. Dude, this is amazing. I'm like, this is so cool. And the best part is that he had an itinerary that he created. He was showing me at the elevator before we parted. I think we were on the same floor. Yeah, we might have been on the same floor. And he was showing me like all the places that he wants to visit, like the landmarks, in Malmö, Sweden. I'm like, oh my God, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is perfect. I wanted to go to Malmö, Sweden, and now I don't even have to think about where I'm going because this guy has a whole ass itinerary and I'm just gonna follow him around. What? I was elated. Are you kidding me? And so we met up in the morning, we took the train, and we explored Malmö, Sweden. We had lunch out there, and then we got back and we called it a day. We exchanged contact, of course, and oh my goodness, I'm definitely gonna visit Casablanca because he's invited me to come out there and explore his city, and he said he would love to show me around, and that's such a gift. Wow, I can't wait for whenever that does happen. But so that was my experience solo traveling for the first time to Europe. Now let's tie this back to what I was talking about, society here in America that I've noticed versus in Europe. Granted, I left Poland when I was 5 years old, so I couldn't tell you how society is out there. I'm sure people that live there might have a different opinion from me, but I think this might be something that's just quite palpable. So there's like this huge, the American dream. That was like the biggest thing in like the late 1900s, like the American dream, everyone's coming out here to chase the American dream, the white picket fence, the beautiful house, the children, the wife, the kids, the husband. So I feel like that has kind of melted. The American dream has melted, and it has turned into the rat race. So people are like doing anything they can to get that buck, to make that money. I mean, these prices are crazy nowadays. But what I'm getting at is, because of this like rat race and people are so like on that go mindset, I feel like a lot of the times the relationships here in America and just the way people interact with each other can be so transactional, can be quite superficial. And I don't know, there's like this like almost like coldness, like bitterness that I feel. And that could be because of this like subconscious American dream rat race, chasing, getting all that money, getting that bag, that bread, you know what I'm saying? Which is important too, but in Europe, I feel like they found a balance to it. They have found a balance to work life and then your private life, your relationships with people. Like, I don't know, there's just like a richness, there's a warmth, there's a welcoming in Europe that I've noticed that I haven't really been able to find here in America in my travels, not yet at least. And I feel like that's changing. I actually feel like that's changing within the past like couple years. But anyway, maybe some of you can agree with me. And I feel like this has to do with the fact that Europe as a whole has been established, has been around for so much longer than America. They have so much culture, so much history. And for that reason, I feel like the people have had more time to just figure out life. And maybe people in Europe will disagree with me. So I don't know. That's just something that I've observed. There's like a softness to Europe. Like, I don't know, there's like a part of that culture that has, that's like the society of Europe that has like figured something out, where there's a balance between work life and private life and the relationships, at least in my opinion. But I also feel like this is changing for America too. Well, anyway, I'm running short on time here, so I wanted to wrap things up. I hope you guys enjoyed season 2, episode 1 of Cuddling with Consciousness. It's been such a pleasure. I'm having so much fun doing this. I did lose my spark at one point, but I'm not going to go into that because it's back. The spark is back, and we're running in full force, my guys. Full force, okay? Super excited. Stay tuned for episode 2 because that's a fucking good one, okay? Y'all ain't ready for the guest that's coming on. Ooh. It has something to do with ayahuasca. Hope you have a great rest of your day, night, evening, afternoon. There's more coming. I'm excited. I'm so excited. Ooh. Yeah, but like, I don't think if I would have met someone on the plane on my way to Chicago, I don't think they would have invited me for dinner to meet their family, like the way I was invited to traveling to Copenhagen. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, even that, like, do you see what I'm saying with the softness, with the warmth that's present in the people? They're just more open. Like, perhaps that could be due to the history of violence that we have here in America that just makes people so closed off and cold, There's like a level of trust that you have to develop with life in order to be more open to people and to know that like your people will come to you, will be there for you. I still am thinking of moving to Copenhagen because of just how beautiful the city is and how much it just felt so good being there, and meeting all these people when I was out there was kind of like giving me signs and signals like, yo, maybe you should do it. And I mean, it's still on the table, right? I wanted to do it this year, as a matter of fact. That was the plan. However, like, I didn't want to rush it, and I told myself, because I wanted to go back in the summertime that same year. But then I'm like, you know what, let's think about this logically. I'll save the money for when I do decide to move there, if I still want to move there a year from now. And so all of last year, I kid you not, I feel like Chicago has begun opening up to me. I began meeting so many awesome, cool people. You know who you are. And if you think it's you, it's probably you, okay? Don't even doubt it for a second. Okay, homie G's? I started being introduced to so many different communities here in Chicago. Or over there, I'm in Salt Lake. I'm in Utah right now. That's, yeah, but it just really felt like Chicago started opening up to me, and it genuinely feels like I should be there for some more time than I think, because there's more that this place has to offer for me than I thought. And yeah, because I did want to continue my studies in Copenhagen, and I wanted to arrange that, and I was arranging that, so no rush. I could always go back to school. Anyway, yeah, I'm definitely chilling in Chicago for some time, or maybe not. I guess we'll see. There's a lot of things that might be changing in time. That's also why I'm saying that I feel like that's changing about America. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned. Peace.